Sometimes.
There was an argument that I saw on Twitter this week that I want to bring up real quick, is that cracking a card that, say, gets a PSA 6, that's a modern card, and selling it raw is quote unquote unethical and shady. You said you considered selling your Acuna raw after cracking it. I want to just quickly hear your thoughts on the ethicalness of cracking a card that got a lower grade and selling it raw when the raw price is higher than the price maybe that the card would have gone in the slab if you kept it in it.
Sure. I think with any situation, it's all about how you portray it. I know that after cracking, I described the card. I did not say near mint or better because it wasn't near mint. I described the card as excellent dash near mint because I thought that's what the PSA 6 designation meant. It actually means excellent dash mint. So even excellent dash near mint is not a grade. But whatever, I guess I, in theory, marked it worse than what the PSA 6 is. And I made sure to the people that were prospectively buying it, I sent them pics front, back, and all four corners, front and back. I described a surface dimple, which is a little hard to see, and the corners. So at the end of the day, no one thought that they were going to get a PSA 10. No one should have thought that they were even going to get a PSA 9. And I think as long as you are transparent about condition, it's fine. Some people were saying, in the arguments and the theory and the ethics of it back and forth, whether you should have to give a Carfax on the card or the card fax. I don't think it's necessary. And my intention, if I held it, was to always get it re-encapsulated because I have had some rough bits on PSA 6s before, especially with Black Parallel specifically. But I think from an ethical standard, as long as you're being transparent about the condition of what condition you think the card is in, especially when you're saying it is encapsulated as excellent mint and you're describing it as excellent near mint, I think that's ethical. Just because I was getting some heat on it, all buyers got the knowledge that it was a PSA 6 during when they made the offer, and that when they made offers, and that made some people reconsider whether they want to buy it or not. I don't know if that's unnecessary. I don't know if stating that grade history is necessary. I personally don't think it is because I don't think it's the obligation of the seller to give the full history of the card just because you asked me to it, as long as there's no trimming, altering, or anything else of the like. But because I knew I was going to get it encapsulated anyway, I didn't really care too much about giving the card slab history. And that if other people see it as unethical, well, I'd rather just trend in the right direction of being ethical and transparent in that context.
Yeah, for sure. And
now it's an SGC.
And I think just in the general world of card grading being subjective, I think just giving more information is always going to be the answer to like, how can I be as ethical as I can be in selling a card is always going to be send pictures, point out any flaws that you see as clearly as you can. Don't make any promises about a card getting a PSA 10 unless you think it will. But we've seen, you're the poster child for the case of subjectivity of card grading. You have the iconic CSG cracked to PSA 3 to what is it now? SGC 8 now?
9.
SGC 9. So
that was CSG 9.5 with the old label. So that would have been a CSG 10.
Yeah, so we're obviously talking about the Juan Soto Gold that iconically Max cracked and got into a PSA 3. Now it is an SGC 9. So there is a lot of subjectivity with grading. As a card seller, it's always better to be transparent. But as you said, you don't necessarily have to tell someone that this card got a PSA 3 when it clearly should not have gotten a PSA 3 because card grading is subjective, but also card buying and card selling is subjective. It's all subjective. We're all a bunch of weird dudes out here.
My rebuttal to, you have to say it's a PSA 6 now that it's an SGC 8 or whatever, now that it's raw, is do you care if my PSA 10 was previously a PSA 9? Because it was. Or I surely don't lose the premium, or better yet, no one really cares if a PSA 10 was previously PSA 9. Care that it's a PSA 10 now. And I certainly don't get to command a premium, or maybe you could say you command a premium, but it never comes to fruition. I never get a premium if my Beckett 9.5 comes back a PSA 9, or in my case, a PSA 5. I cracked a Beckett 9.5 that came back a PSA 5, and we'll be sending it back to PSA to see what they think of a second opinion. but I don't get a premium on that just because it was a 9.5. So I think as long as you're being ethical about condition to the best of your ability, pointing out flaws when relevant and pointing out condition of what you think the most accurate opinion is, especially when there is the preceding context that PSA does have a history of being very harsh on black tops flagship parallels because of the whiting and because of the eye appeal. They will make a card that you think is an 8 to 6 on
Yeah.
black parallel.
Yep.